Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of Thursday, September 19th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in Ayer Town Hall. My name is Kurt Freskowski. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. This is a hybrid meeting. This meeting of the Finance Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID 860-8777-1519 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.mass.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is a review and approval of the June 20th, 24 meeting minutes. I've taken a look at those. Any comments?
I have no discussion.
Just the one from the email about the misspelled due on regarding the unemployment, 2178.
Oh, okay, so it's going to be DUE instead of due, okay. Get that corrected before we post it. Okay, do I have a motion? Or?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 20th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And that's Jen. Aye. Okay. The next item on the agenda is outside committee updates. Currently, the FinCom attends other committees' meetings, and the most current one is the Rate Review Committee. And an update on that is that we've been looking at the report from the transfer station that was prepared by an outside agency, which was one favorable of the overall operation of the transfer station. And secondly, we're looking at the rates to set the rates for the coming year. A final decision has not been made on that, but it will be made at the next rate review meeting, which is, bear with me one second, on October 1st at 4 p.m. The other committees that we sit in on are capital planning. That's not started yet for this year. I just wanted to check. Andrew, are you going to be attending the capital planning?
I'm just doing by board, but I can.
Oh, okay, you're doing by board. That's why I wanted to check. Okay, so. And then Eric, are you?
I wasn't last year.
Okay. Actually, I think I was going to do, Bob is doing rate review, and I've been sort of sitting in, and I was going to do capital planning. Okay. So,
If I didn't mean to say that I wouldn't. Like, if you need me to or something, I certainly will. I was just saying I hadn't been. I didn't want to.
no, again, this is our first meeting in a few months, so I just wanted to refresh everybody's. So Bob is on the rate review. I've been attending also just for some continuity on that. And the same thing on the capital planning, I'll be attending that. We haven't started that yet for this year. And the executive buy board has not started yet either, Andrew, and Robert will be notifying us when those start again. So, okay, so that is the updates on the outside committees. I just wanted to take a moment. We've got turns out a full agenda this evening, and I just wanted to set some expectations. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, this is our first meeting. We hadn't met in July and August due to the hospital closing and the meetings and everything that was going on with that. So what I really want to do is we are going to get a good presentation on the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund from Dan. And we're going to touch on the hospital closing, the senior center, and reporting in clear.gov. We're not going to dive deep into the hospital, senior center, and reporting in clear.gov, but we just wanted to start putting that on our radar, so to speak, and as we go into our regular scheduled meetings, which we'll be scheduling again, we'll touch on that later in the meeting. We'll be going into further depth on these items. But again, I just wanted to get it on our radars because these are going to be important topics for everyone. Okay, so Dan? Dan is going to, the Department of Public Works is going to do a presentation on the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund.
Great. All right. Do you mind if or you can drive?
I gotta share the Zoom.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Cool. There's a button.
All right. All right, so thanks, Mr. Chair and Finance Committee, and this will be just a brief presentation from the Stormwater Advisory Work Group, Stormwater Utility Advisory Work Group, and hi, Jen, who is also a part of the work group. So the work group's objective, in which I did meet way back in February with several boards and committees as well to go over what the work group was doing. But a reminder was to consider the adoption of a stormwater utility that is an enterprise fund as an option for funding stormwater management. And so the goal of today's meeting, update the FinCom, present the work group's efforts, findings, and what's coming for next steps. All right, next slide, please.
The button's right here.
Oh, very good. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, just mentioned February 2024 informational presentations. Several boards were made aware of the process, and they're listed here, including FinCom back in February 15th. List of the work group members, so that's in the presentation. I won't go through all of them, but obviously I mentioned Jen was part of the work group, so she's been apprised of what we've been doing and obviously providing her input. One thing is the work group does have a web page, and we've been really pointing people here. It's got a repository of the information, answers to questions, examples of what the fees might look like, calculation examples, and lots of outreach, so educational components. So if you really want to dive deep and find out a lot about the utility, just go to the website, air.ma.us, and go under committees and stormwater, and you'll find the work group's website. Efforts to date. So the work group really had a kickoff a little over a year ago. So over the past year, the work group's worked to accomplish determine the stormwater utility needs and funding through a long process. The work group drafted a potential rate structure and drafted potential regulations and a credit policy. And also conducted public meetings and outreach. And there was a timeline you can see in the image down below that we used to project out outreach, potential outreach we might do in the future, and at every meeting, the board, or sorry, not the board, the committee, the work group would go over that timeline and adjust as the work group saw best fit. All right, next. Oh, go, I got it. There we go. Now, you can't see the top of the slide, but this is item number 1, the stormwater utility needs and funding. So Ayer's stormwater infrastructure has a total replacement value of approximately $90 million. So just to put some weight to how much value the stormwater infrastructure is in Ayer, the goal was to determine a funding mechanism to meet the current and future stormwater needs. So we want to look at infrastructure replacement as well as maintenance, permit compliance, and do it in an equitable, stable, reasonable, and sustainable manner. And really what helped us understand how we should be moving forward rather from a reactive position, which the town has been doing to manage stormwater, to a proactive position, was we had a substantially grant-funded stormwater asset management plan put together back in 2021 timeframe. And so that kind of lays out a guidebook. Here's what we should do to be proactive. So we kind of get a much better handle of some of the infrastructure that's out in Ayer that we own, and a best way to manage it proactively. So the work group evaluated different levels of service. You can see down on the bottom of the slide where the money bags are. The version 1 was, hey, let's do everything, ideal situation, highest level of service, that we need to fund about $1.9 million a year. So the work group kind of vetted through different scenarios, what's most practical to have an adequate level of service, which still gives us that proactive approach, and landed on version 3, you can see at the bottom, of $700,000 per year. Go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, version 3, the proactive version, $700,000 a year for our stormwater. This look comparing to our current stormwater program fund, which was around $240,000 a year. I have since, in the last couple fiscal years, since we got the stormwater asset management plan, upped that a little bit to around $400,000 to $500,000 a year, but we're still under where we really should be. As mentioned, the management style previous is mostly reactive. We want to be proactive. Capital projects, very small projects are all we really can do. Spot repairs, minor, small pipe replacements. There's lots of culverts out there, lots of infrastructure that needs expensive repairs. But with the $700,000 enterprise fund, we'd be able to do small, medium-sized projects. And one that we've really been focusing on recently is a culvert on Groton School Road, which will be a costly repair. Next line item, culvert replacement program. As kind of just mentioned, very small culverts are really all we can tackle in our current reactive approach, but through the enterprise fund, the proactive, smaller culverts, larger culverts, we can do every few years. We can really space it out, make sure we're addressing the town's needs, proper level of service, while also having an adequate fee, which I'll get into later. Pipe maintenance and inspection. That's something we're really only doing on an emergency basis, but we ought to be doing yearly. In our sewer system, we have a yearly section of town that we TV, clean, and make sure it's adequate. We really should be doing that with our stormwater as well. It's a similar system. So moving to that, to have a maintenance program for our pipe maintenance would be huge. Ability to meet future MS4 permit, that's our stormwater permit with EPA and Mass DEP. So under our current program, it'll be very difficult, unlikely, but having the enterprise fund, $700,000, it'll put us in a much better position. Sustainability, I'd say yes for the stormwater enterprise fund, much more sustainable way to move the town forward. Okay, key terms. So when this is item 2, we're getting into the rate structure here. So when the town looked at the rate structure, the most common way that's being done in the industry by municipalities around the country is by impervious area. Impervious area, what is it? It's a hard surface such as pavement and concrete, which stormwater flows off of. You can kind of see on the graphic to the right, what happens in different scenarios. when stormwater flows on grass in a forested area versus when it all the way down to when it gets to a city type area in the bottom right. So in that scenario in the city, the stormwater is hitting all the impervious area, traveling quickly to the drains and quickly to our waterways, and also it's carrying pollutants. But in the scenario where you're in a forest, it's really soaking into the ground mostly, and then also evapotranspiration, it's called, evaporating off of the vegetation. It's not as much as getting into our waterways, and it's being filtered. So impervious area is typically the most impactful component to stormwater quality and the quality of our waterways. So that's why it is used as a measure for a rate structure. Second bullet, equivalent residential unit. This is also a common measure. So what we did was stormwater billing unit that is related to impervious area, ERU. The work group created one ERU was equivalent to 3,200 square feet of impervious area. And how did the work group come up with that? The 3,200 number is the median impervious area on a single family residential property in Ayer. So that is generally how it is done, and that's the way the work group went forward. So I'll show you how that, oh, go ahead.
So there's obviously, we can go back, there's a lot of math and engineering involved in all this. This is where Tig and Bonds consultants, they did a lot of the actual, for lack of a better term, math and engineering work to support all of this.
That's
and that's
right.
in those Tig and Bond reports, correct?
That's right, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. Yeah, so Ty and Bond, the work group has a consultant supporting us through this, and they've done this for other communities as well. But basically, I'll show you on the next slide. Ty and Bond used a software called NearMap, and essentially it gives you impervious areas of all the various properties throughout town based on a flyover, and those get further refined. And so we were able to, put it into a GIS system, which is a database, table-based system. So then you can parse that out and find out what your, median square footage of impervious area is on a single-family residential property. So yeah, they did all that. I don't want to call it grunt work, but it was a lot of.
Okay, yeah, so another,
background.
yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to make sure of is that,
Yeah.
obviously, this is engineering work that needs to be.
Yeah, so there's a lot of data backing this
Okay.
up. It wasn't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there is data and stuff. And this property viewer will be available for the public to look at?
It is, yeah, it's
On the
available now. It's on the website right here. There's a QR code. There's also a link. So basically what you could do is you could go onto the property viewer, click on any property, and it'll come up. It's hard to see on here with a screen on the right, the table on the right, and it'll tell you the property ID, map and parcel number, and what type of property it is. Is it a single family residential? Or is it a non-single family residential? And that's how we spread out the cost. And then it'll tell you how many equivalent residential units it is.
Okay. And that Tig and Bond report analysis is on the website also?
Yeah, all the data is up there.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Good.
I don't know if they don't have like a full report, but we kind of show how we got to this point. Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. So the way it would work, I mentioned this a second ago, but the work group came down to a proposed annual fee of $95 per equivalent residential unit, and that would get the budget annually to the $700,000 yearly proposed stormwater utility funding. All single-family residential properties would be charged an annual fee of 1 ERU, so that's $95. That's $23.75 quarterly. And that is regardless of impervious area on the single-family residential property. It could have less than 3,200 or more than 3,200. If it's a single-family residential, it's 1 ERU charge. All the other properties in town, so the non-single-family residential, we call them, commercial, industrial, multifamily, they would be charged a fee proportional to the property's impervious area. And I get into a couple examples ahead. So a single family residential property, here's an example. build a flat fee of 1 ERU regardless of the amount of impervious area on the property. Number 2, Pheasant Circle property. Impervious area there, it's 3,190. It's actually really close to 3,200, but it's just charged 1 ERU, $95 annually. Example of a non-single family residential. So this is a commercial property on Willow Road, number 11 Willow Road. So basically the impervious area of that property is calculated, and there is 68,542 square feet. So that would be divided by the 3,200 square feet per ERU to get you to 22 ERUs. So 22 ERUs times $95 per ERU, the annual fee would be $2,090. So it's kind of, you see the equity, the shift. The more impervious area on a property, the more they would pay for stormwater, because it impacts stormwater more. In addition to the rate structure, bullet number 3 we'd mentioned were the regulations. So the work group did prepare a draft set of regulations. And in that draft, the select board would be the authority. The select board would set the rates, very similar to the water and sewer rate structure and regulations. Not rate structure, water and sewer regulations. Yeah, I'm missing it on the screen there. There is a credit policy, and it's available for all properties. And the property could submit for up to 50% off of a stormwater fee. So not getting into too many details, but basically if stormwater treatment is put onto a site or if stormwater is retained on a site, there's certain criteria that would need to be met, and the property could submit for reimbursement. So one example would be a couple years ago, Catania Spagna put in underground stormwater detention, and so they're detaining the stormwater, treating the water quality, so they would be able to submit for this credit policy. And also the regulations speak to the billing, collection and abatements, and just doing some initial work. The stormwater fee would pretty easily be added to the water and sewer billing system, but we haven't got too in the weeds on that. We just haven't had initial conversations with our billing software. Yeah.
Does the 95 a year / $700,000 level 3, has that taken into account at all the potential credits?
Yes, so there was a factor used when we put together the $700,000. That was a factor of about 7% we anticipated, which working with time bond, that's actually a little bit of a conservative number. So it is factored into that number it would bring us down to the 700,000 from where we would actually be if there were no credits. Yeah.
Okay, so the 95 a year, just based on where the town is, would yield more than 700, and you're anticipating based on the credits, we would end up at about 700.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. So last fourth bullet was basically public meetings and outreach and what we've done. So work group meetings, I mentioned these began in September of last year, a year ago. These are monthly meetings and they were open to the public. Board and committee presentations, there were in 2023, 2 presentations to the select board, and in June was when the select board advised creating the work group, June of 2023. February 2024, we mentioned several committees and boards that were made aware of this process. The work group also did have several outreach presentations. In February of 24, we had a guest speaker at the library regarding stormwater and its impacts on water quality. It was a pretty good presentation. That's on the website. A video is. In June 2024, we had a public information and input forum, and that was pretty well attended on Zoom and in person in the Great Hall. August 2024, commercial property owners, there was a meeting conducted between the work group and those owners to make them aware of this. And other outreach, notifications and tax bills, flyers, a work group video was put together. And one I'd like to highlight, the frequently asked questions document available on the website is pretty key if you have have a few common questions. Those are answered right there. Oops. So the latest, oh, go ahead.
Quick question, Dan. So on the, because I was at the June 24th public meeting, which was very,
Yep.
the August 24th meeting, how did that go with the commercial properties?
It went fairly well. There wasn't much pushback. It was just informational. You know, I expected more, what the heck, what are you doing type of why are we going to have this? But really, and even since then, I haven't heard much from any of the businesses. It kind of seems, I think through those presentations that the work group gave, we really, explained well why we are doing this and why our stormwater system's like it is and why this is a potential good way for us to address the town stormwater systems. And right, like businesses, if a culvert were to go on a certain road that would block the road, that would upset businesses, and so I think they really understood things like that too. So
Okay.
It went pretty well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to, because that was, the businesses will be impacted a bit more, but they have more land
Right.
and impervious surface and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the latest on Tuesday, the select board was updated with the findings from the work group, and the select board does recommend submission of warrant articles for town meeting consideration of the stormwater utility. So there's going to be 2 warrant articles, and you can see those below. One would, in the bullets below, one would basically create the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund, and the other would speak to the fee collections, abatements, and liens. So working with town council, we were able to develop drafts of those. So I think that's the end of the presentation, but at this point, since this is a financial item, it will, on the town meeting warrant, it will have a finance committee recommends item. So it is something the finance committee should vote support on. And this is a brief presentation. If you need more information, I can definitely get more to you. But that's kind of an update as to where we are and what the rate structure and everything is going on.
Okay, good, thanks.
I have questions.
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Please go ahead.
Go back to slide 8.
What's that?
That's the one with the current
Oh, okay.
proposed. Is DPW doing the culvert stuff yourselves, or are you hiring someone to do that?
No, we typically hire somebody unless it's a really small one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what's the downside of not being able to meet the permit requirements for the EPA, out of curiosity?
So we could get the town, if you didn't meet your permit requirements, you could get a consent decree from EPA and they could make you do certain things, which could be costly. So, if we weren't proper, right now, the current permit, it doesn't have I would say it doesn't have a lot. We're able to meet it now, but the next permit's coming out within the next year, and there's going to be more implementation, more projects. And eventually, we expect them to probably be targeting private properties in town, which the town would actually have to steward. So having a stormwater utility would allow that when you have the credit policy, for example, to be able to get more stormwater treatment even on private property, even though the town's not allowed to go on it and construct on private property, right? So I'm on a tangent there.
You just wanted more enterprise funds. And then I assume rate review committee will be running the rates from here
That's
on
what I
out?
anticipated. Yeah, that's the way it would.
Okay.
That's the way it would run. Similar to water and sewer rates, there would be now a stormwater rate every year. They would look at it.
So that's up to them. And then
Yeah.
I assume the whole stormwater line item's coming out of the budget.
That is correct. Yeah, the stormwater line item would come out of the omnibus budget.
I think that's all I have for now. That's your.
I had 2. One was, how did you get to the 3,200 square feet? And with the, not abatements, the credits? Is that available to residential places as well? Just a question, because they're just charged as one, no matter what the size is.
Yeah. So, right, the credits are available to all properties, including single-family residential. So it is available. 3,200 square feet, basically, we showed you the map, the parcel viewer, tie and bond, separated single-family residential properties from non-single-family residential properties in a tabular format. You can display it on a map too, like GIS. But basically, the median number of all the impervious area on those single-family residential
Okay.
comes out to 3,200 square
So it's
feet.
specific to our town, not just
Correct.
places in general? Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like driveways and patios and roofs and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, and that is spelled in the regulations. We do spell out the definition for impervious area, which covers all the different items it may be.
I haven't read the FAQ for quite some time, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to open to the public for a few questions. If you can hold for one, I've got one more question, but then we're going to ask, because this is the timing on this item, we're open it for some public comments
Yeah.
now. But real quick, so one thing that I understand is that the stormwater affects the sewer, correct? I mean, in other words, if we take care of the stormwater on a proactive basis, stormwater system, it helps us run it increases the efficiency or
So you're talking
helps.
about the wastewater system?
Yeah, the wastewater system.
It's not really directly correlated, so what we
Okay.
worry about with the sewer, the wastewater collection system is I&I, infiltration, inflow. And inflow is basically rainwater getting directly into the sewer system. We've done various work in our sewer system, smoke testing, dye testing, things like that, to try to find any direct connections. And we found one back in 2008, and we eliminated it. It was a catch basin connected directly to our wastewater system. So right there, you're getting a ton of inflow. But infiltration, which is high groundwater, and that's seeping into our wastewater pipes through cracks and breaks and leaks. That's kind of, we have a lot of that, but that's really groundwater. So when we're talking about the stormwater system, everything's going to be going down our stormwater collection system and ultimately going out to our ponds and streams. And I presume there are leaks, exfiltration to be called, going into the ground, feeding the groundwater. It probably doesn't have a significant impact on the groundwater elevation. But
Okay, I don't want to get too
Yeah,
far in the
yeah.
weeds. Sometimes I know in some cities there's
yeah, we don't have, our systems are completely separate.
Okay.
Some cities do have combined systems, they call it stormwater and
So actually, we have a
totally
good system
separate.
right now with
Yeah.
stormwater and sewer
Yeah, they're
being separate, and we
completely
need to keep them
which
up.
is great. Yeah, yeah.
Did we look at how much the residents are footing the bill versus commercials footing the bill?
We have that, I'd have to get it though.
Right, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 240 going to 700 is like almost a 3x increase, even though this last fiscal year, right, it was more than the 240. So you're looking to double it. And I'm curious now that commercial's paying some of it, is people's tax liability going to end up going down overall because now commercial's footing some of the bill?
That's a good question. I mean, in general, right, the omnibus budget and capital budget right now, so we have about 500,000. So the omnibus, I think we put about 100,000 in FY25 in there, so that would come out. But every year you always have, 100,000 and what's our omnibus budget, 18 million about. So it's not a significant chunk that's getting reduced, so that won't make much of an impact.
No one likes taxes, Dan.
Right.
If I may, they did do an analysis on the areas versus the taxes, and they did find this was beneficial to have the fee versus the effect of the tax rate. I don't remember what it is, but it is in the
Yeah.
time bonds presentations.
We could get that.
We just have to find it.
And then 700 is irrespective of capital borrowing, right? You said you need.
That includes capital.
Does it?
That's 700 number, and the 240 on the slide that we're still looking at, that included capital.
Okay, so there's $3 million. You're gonna have to take a borrow money for that, right?
Right, so that, every few years, we'd space it out and have a major project that would be borrowed.
Got it. Cool. Pauline has a question.
I have some, I'm going to go, we have a question on the floor here.
Everybody can hear me, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one of those memories, and I just want to say, I think they presented that, the analysis at the 11/15 of the December stormwater drainage meeting. I was bringing that up. But the other thing is, I was just wondering at what pace does, like, even the $700,000 allow you to fund the reserve fund? Like, does it?
The question, so what does it allow us to do, or?
Well, like, are you building a reserve fund at all with this?
There would be, there would be debt, obviously, on the books, but we would have a reserve fund as we go through the years. That would be something that the rate review committee would look at every year, similar to our water and sewer, which does have a debt on it too. So it would, yeah.
That's my only question.
Yeah.
I have another question, please.
I'm just curious about the multi-family. I'm at Auto Ridge. So, we have a shared road that comes in, and then we each have a driveway and a garage. But how would they divvy that out for? We have like 60 units there.
Yeah, so
60.
that has an HOA. So I think the way it would work is it would be one bill, and it would be billed to the HOA, and they split it between the units. And we did some looking at that. I remember Longview Circle, it actually came out to less than 95 per resident that's in there. So, we could look at it in a partial view or Ellen, see what.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And when do you think the first payments would be? Would that be this year?
So the draft warrant article would make this effective FY26, so that's July 1 of next year. So it'd be starting then.
All right. Thank you.
Pauline has a question.
Go ahead.
Pauline, can she hear me?
I hope so.
Pauline, you have a question?
Not a question so much, Kurt, as simply a couple of comments. And thank you, Dan, for making the presentation. I do have a question, though, for Dan. This does not have to require Finance Committee approval tonight. You're just making a presentation, correct?
Right, so I am making a presentation, make them aware. Ultimately, for the town meeting warrant article, the Finance Committee should report on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that will be in May of next year, or will it be next month?
Next month.
Okay. So they will need to make some kind of decision amongst themselves before October 26th or 8th or whatever date it is. So my comments are to the committee. Thank you, Dan. My comments to the committee are, take your time, analyze this. There are many, many, many questions in the public. I'm asked something about this almost every day. Dan, I'll just pass on the question that came out yesterday. Why did the minimum cost per residential unit, I'll phrase it at that, because the questioner didn't say ERU. Why did it go from $55 to $95? Truthfully, I didn't have the answer. I will look and I will see if I can help the person, but that's a prevailing question. So please, Finance Committee, as representatives of the taxpayers, take a good, long look at this before you decide to, I ask that you take a good, long look at this before you decide to accept or reject or request modifications. That's really my only comment. Because this failed a couple of years ago. Dan, was it more, 5 years or more?
So in 2011, a stormwater utility was voted positively at the town meeting, but there was no funding mechanism. And so when that came to be in 2015, the select board voted not to fund the utility and to, I think the word dissolved, but I forget the exact term, but basically it got dissolved at a 2015 town meeting.
Oh my God, time does fly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. Any other questions? No. Dan, what I'm going to suggest is, let me gather my thoughts here real quick, is I have going to suggest to the Finance Committee and when we get to we have an item on the agenda for our future meetings. But what I'm going to suggest that we do, and we'll vote on this when we get to this, is that we will have a special meeting tentatively. Again, we want to vote on this with our future meetings agenda item next Wednesday, 9/25, which would be, and we would take a vote then on recommending this for the warrant and for the town meeting. And that would also give us, because then the select board on October 1st will be adding it to the warrant on that meeting. So should we go ahead and take a vote on that now, or should we wait till?
We can go later.
Okay, well, all right, so that's what we're going to tentatively schedule a meeting to address this particular item on 9 next week to do a final vote. But I think, and that way we can do a little bit more homework and get a little bit more input and everything. I think any other questions from our group or the public?
We're good.
Okay, all right, so thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is the hospital closing. We're going to have two things here. Chief Johnson is going to do a presentation, but Chief, I wanted to give Robert Pontbriand shared some quick notes with us. He did not have a update on the situation about the impact on the town. The notes that he put out. The town remains committed to this closure being temporary and is committed to finding a responsible operator to take over operations of the hospital. Additionally, all town departments began tracking unforeseen costs related to the hospital closure as of September 1st, and we anticipate having the first data set of budget impacts by October 1st. And the chief and town manager will present to the select board on October 1st. And they'll share any other meeting information with the FinCom also. So he also, and I think this is on the website, he did put together, actually the select board put a letter together to Governor Healy addressing the issue also. So that's the updates on the hospital closing from Robert. This letter's here, and then Chief, I think again, Johnson, if you could just address.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you reached out to me and asked, it's real early on. It's hard to get a real good sample of where we're heading since the hospital closed just over 3 weeks ago. But as I sent in my email, just 4 bullet points. The only definitive one is we have an affiliation agreement. So what that means, our paramedics operate they get their medical control from a doctor at Neshoba. When that facility closed, our agreement ended, and that was at no charge. All the other facilities we reached out to get an agreement, of course, that there was a fee for that. So we ended up signing an agreement with Leominster, which was $4,400, which is something we didn't budget for, but we can look at that working into the budget. So that's the only definitive thing since the hospital closed that we have. Now we understand that we're traveling longer distances, so what's that mean? More fuel, more maintenance, more travel time, and our ambulances are further away, and pardon me, I've repeated this many times, they're further away, so we get more calls. Are they close enough to take the call, or we have to rely on our second ambulance or our mutual aid partners? So that's the other thing. And then we've always ran into multiple calls, meaning 2 calls, all the department, full-time staff that are working, or on calls we have fill in with either full-time members off duty or call department members. So that has certainly been used more frequently over the last 3 weeks. Now, it doesn't mean the budget becomes a shortfall, it's just how many people show up, if any, and how much more does that cost, and how often does that occur. So I think from our point of view is we need to get a sample, as the town manager mentioned, we'll go before the board the beginning of the month. And I think maybe by the end of the year, we'll have a better sample on, what it's actually gonna look like. My hope still is that the hospital does reopen, but that won't be for an extended period of time. So, the staff is just more busier than ever. I can tell you, like 2 weeks ago, like one or neither ambulance was in the station from like 8:30 to 5:30. It's just the way it was. When it gets busy, it gets busy during the day and even in the evenings on the overnights. And that could be ALS out of town or ambulances our own. We've had like maybe 2 or 3 triple calls, one come in after another. Today they took a call in from Route 2. They were just getting off and they took in a call. So those are the challenges that we got ahead of us. But there's no real good sample. That's the way, as the town manager does. And we're only 3 weeks deep and we'll give a 1-month sample. So that's my report from the fire department. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have for me.
It's only 3 weeks in. I'm guessing
Yeah.
you can't answer this, but one of the main concerns I had about the impact it would have with the ambulance is, and considering we have 2 and there's a lot of mutual aid that the town provides, are we seeing or will we see an impact on service times for residents of Ayer because the vehicles are out longer and further distances, and then someone in Ayer has an emergency and then there's no help available?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like we always have, we can take care of the first 2 calls that come in, whichever they are. So the third one becomes, how do we take care of the third one? It's always been mutual aid. But we do have, equipment in our fire engine and also in our spare admin car that can take care of those next calls till a mutual aid ambulance gets there. Now, there's certainly things in the works that we think could help us in that. It's not an ambulance, but it's more equipment in a car or something like that. But those are the things we're working on. So at minimum, if we don't have an ambulance to transport, the equipment could show up at the ALS level perhaps. But those are things that are in the works as we move forward in the future. I think that's something we can look at. But I think for a town our size, 2 ambulances where we should be at, for sure.
Is mutual aid gonna go up, I assume?
It's been like maybe coming to us, but
Yeah,
it hasn't
that's what I'm
gone
saying.
going out.
We'll have
Of
to
late, we might
take
have
any
had
more calls.
Yeah, we've had like Devon's in a couple of times where we've had, mechanical issues with the ambulance lately. So one of them, so that's been more or less the issue, not necessarily that they've been away, but to some extent, but it's been minimal.
It's only been 3
It's
weeks.
more
right?
of a mechanical issue with one of our ambulances than an issue of it being.
That's the one that's
here.
getting replaced already, right?
No, it's the newer one. It's just stuff that happens, Yeah, but we ordered that ambulance too. That's 2 years out from when we ordered it in the spring. That's always something we can look at too. That ambulance is in great shape. In 2 years, what do we do with it? So that's something we have time to take a look at that, whether it's something we save and keep for ourselves or we do trade it in. So that's another option. We'll look at what we're exploring. Your question is the options we are exploring. Yep.
Thank you.
I just had 2 quick notes. So our cost per run will be going up because of the distance. Are we going to be able to, and again, I just throw this out for consideration, increase our bills? In other words, we would charge $200 for a run currently. Now, since we have increased fuel costs, would we be able to charge more for that?
Yep, so myself and the deputy have opened up that book to look at that. We've looked at that before because we have, now keep in mind Medicare rates are set by Medicare, and we run generally between 60 and 70%. So those are set, we can't change those. But we can change them for the other 30 to 40%. We certainly can look at that. Right now, I just reviewed the rates recently. They're pretty accurate. I think they reflect where they should be. Because the only thing we would do is be raising the rates on people that got regular insurance, not the people that on Medicare. So that certainly would help us out. But we also have to look at, and I was mentioning earlier to both the finance manager and the town accountant, like, do we lose any calls and lose some of that revenue? At the same time, we're gaining revenue in the mileage end because you get paid per mileage while they're meaning loaded, so you get paid one way. So that increases a little, so it might offset the cost, like if we miss a call or 2 a month or something like that. Yeah, so we're exploring all
Okay,
of that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
we're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Like I
that
said,
does-
it's early,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we're on top of all those avenues, and as we proceed into the next fiscal year budget, we can raise all those questions and might have a better sample come the tail end of this calendar year.
And again, my other question, well, observation is that, having been at the DPH hearing and hearing all the stuff that the state is going to do for us, but we're going to keep on top of what is the state going to make funds available for us as far as grants to help with ambulance service and stuff like that. So just throw out, we're going to keep on top of that and pursue
Yeah,
whatever we can.
That's a great question. So I have a good rapport with the DPH folks. They contact, it's called the command team. So one of the two liaisons contact me every week, and that would still be considered in the works. And yes, so the answer is yes. And I would say stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
We're on top of that. Yep.
Yeah, so, or you could get, no, I was going to make a bad joke about yachts, but.
It's like I said, it's still in the works, and we have ongoing conversations about those funds. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Yeah, again, all this is a fluid situation.
Yeah, very
So,
fluid. Yep.
I'm going to open this to the floor for any questions from the public, comments. Okay, well, great. Thank you very much for the update,
Thanks,
Chief.
Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're going to take a quick look, get an update on the senior center from Dr. Katie Petrossi. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Did you want me to give that presentation, or for the sake of brevity, did you not want?
I think, as I sort of mentioned as we started the meeting, is that this is going to be, again, like the hospital, this is going to be an ongoing thing. So I wanted to get this on our radar, start to look at it, and as we continue with the meetings through the next few months and into the next year, we'll be obviously diving in for further questions. So yeah, I think just this evening, just a quick overview.
Okay.
Since, boy, we made a decision, and here's the highlights.
Fantastic.
You brought reinforcements.
Yes, I did bring the reinforcements. The rest of my committee members, Ken, Dennis, Ellen, and Dan's back there as well, all on the committee, so thank you to all of you for coming as well. So our current senior center is just not adequate to meet the needs of older adults here in town. There's over 2,000 older adults in Ayer. Over 25% of Ayer's population is older than age 60. America and Ayer are aging. This is something we expect to continue well into the 2060s before that growth of the older population ceases. So this is a true demographic shift for the long term. Our current facility just doesn't have the parking, the square footage, the ADA accessibility, private meeting space, office space adequate for the staff that's there. Just pretty much on every single level, the existing senior center is inadequate. And so the select board appointed, there's been many efforts going all the way back to 2018 to build a new senior center. And the select board just about a year ago appointed the senior center site selection and building committee to find a site. We looked at over 50 town-owned parcels. We conducted site visits to the 5 parcels that we deemed to be the most viable. We did a second RFP for private land to see if private landowners wanted to sell to the town. We've toured a number of senior centers that have been recently constructed around the state. We hired Catlin Architecture for a feasibility study, and we did some preliminary site work on the 2 finalist parcels, and have done the beginnings of the public input process via small group interactions. And that kind of all culminated at our August 28th meeting when we voted, the Senior Center Site Selection and Building Committee voted to recommend Bishop Road. It's a small portion of the larger DPW site to be the recommended site to house the new senior center. And on Tuesday night, the select board accepted that recommendation and encouraged us to move on to the next steps, which are mostly site due diligence, breaking off a 3-acre parcel from that larger 76-acre DPW parcel, engaging National Grid and the Ayer DPW for official work estimates to bring electric and water to the parcel, because there are no utilities out that way currently. Of course, we need to do a 21E, that's the phase 1 environmental report, and get a habitat report, as that is a ACEC and National Heritage designations on that site. And then, we need to do continued work with public input and refining the cost estimates and determining the timeline to bring it to town meeting. In the packet that is the memo to the select board, you can see some more information about where on Bishop Road that is, relative to St. Mary's Cemetery and the existing DPW brush dump. So Ken was coming up to create this one with the red block there, and just another view as well. And then I also included from Catlin Architecture the site placement, sort of in the bottom left-hand corner, not directionally which way that is, of the parcel, and then included this is the third round of floor plans and elevations, which are of course all subject to public feedback and input. But the resultant building will be approximately 14,000 square feet spread over 2 floors, and includes a large multi-purpose room that will hold 150 people for lunch or special events. It will have a commercial kitchen, adequate and confidential meeting space for all staff, include a cafe and library area, and then 3 additional smaller meeting spaces for smaller senior center groups, and then a fitness equipment room upstairs and a wellness room for the public health nurse, podiatrist, massage therapy, Shine Medicare counselors, AARP tax prep, any of the more confidential meetings upstairs. So it's a really great building. There's patio area and a 6-foot wide covered walkway around the whole perimeter for walking programs and activities. So I'm not speaking for myself, I'm thrilled with the way the design came out. It's really going to meet the needs of our existing and future seniors in town. The building has just a lot of capability. Would you guys want to add anything?
I think that's
Go ahead.
no, I think that summarizes it pretty well.
I would just say,
Excuse me.
oh, no, go ahead.
Wasn't it 2 shared spaces that actually we took consideration from other groups in town? 1 shared space for use for ADA for.
Oh, yes, there is, I'm
for-
sorry, I didn't mention that. There is, off the back of the building, there's going to be roughly equivalent to a 1-car garage amount of space to be shared with the Disabilities Commission to jointly host a medical equipment lending program.
There's an office in town hall who's going to.
Right, so then, and there's in the office space, which is the purple area on the first floor. In that space, there's room for all of the senior center staff, also the town manager, the town social workers, to split her time. She currently splits her time between town hall and the senior center now, but we're multiple people in every office down there, and potentially to share space with the veterans agent to split that his time as well. So yes, thank you.
I would just say we feel very lucky to have gotten Catlin, which is an authority in the area of building and design for seniors, for active aging seniors, as they put it, and they teach a lot of courses to others. They've done over 60 buildings in the Commonwealth as well as across the the United States, and they are just experts in every little thing that makes it better for, you know, hearing and sight and everything for seniors. So it'll be a wonderful building.
I just have to, as you know, one thing I've been learning more and more is all the services that we offer. I mean, as you're like, we have room for this, and you're like, oh, yes.
And that's part of the reason the existing facility just is so inadequate is because what it means to be a senior when you're in your young 60s and what you're looking for out of a senior center is wholly different than someone in their late 80s or early 90s. And you need enough square footage and enough different rooms that you can offer that whole spectrum of services to all of those different subgroups.
And if any of you haven't been down to the current senior center, I would encourage you to go down and take a look. It's on Pond Street, tucked in behind the, under the Ayer Housing Authority, just so that it gives you some perspective on where we are now and what additional.
Drastic comparison.
Good point.
Yeah, and the other thing, I had just pulled up this all came together, and I knew you guys folks were doing all this work behind the scenes, and I'm just pulled it up on Google Maps on my computer here, and the location is, my God, it's great. I mean, it's DPW. You've got the police station. Stop and Shop is it Stop? I always get that wrong. Shop and Save.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a half mile from Park Street, so it's
Right.
really, though there aren't any other buildings back there right now, it's really a more central location than you think. It's a very good location from my perspective.
Yeah, I think that's what sort of when I first heard about it. But now that I'm looking at it, and also Tiny's is down the road, so the important things. Good. And any other information or any other questions from
I have
Mark?
a question.
Would I ask a quick question?
Oh yes, Jim. Yes.
Okay, I'm just wondering that, I don't know if I misheard that, did you say that in the proposed new senior center, you have a capacity for accommodating like 150 people at the same time?
So the large multi-purpose room will accommodate 150 people for lunch or any kind of a special event where people are seated around tables. I mean, the capacity of the building as a whole is much larger than that, but
Yeah. So you have one room that's big enough to accommodate 100,
right,
a little more than 100 people. So how in your current senior center, how many people can you accommodate, and how many people have you experienced like coming to say partake a meal or something at one time?
Sure. So our daily lunches, we serve lunch every day at the senior center, and our daily lunches, the capacity is 24. And for our, I would say, it's roughly 22 to 24 each day that we're serving our restaurant catered meals down there. When we have a special event, for example, we had a cookout at Pleasant Street Park just last week, and we had 54 people there. And speaking with other senior center directors as well as the architect John Catlin, he said that most towns experience between a 40 and 60% increase in usage when they build and open a new building.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised that you experience that amount of increase. But currently, when you only can, serve 24, 25 people at a time, were you most of the time at capacity? Did you have that many people attending your daily lunches?
Yeah, the lunches are full most days at the senior center now. Yep.
Okay.
And we would take more if we could seat more. We just don't have enough room.
So we can probably realistically expecting that if you say double capacity, it will get filled up very easy.
Right. I mean, I would say we have a special luncheon probably every 4 to 6 weeks. And we are regularly getting close to 50, and we have to, the only way we're able to do that is if we're split across 2 separate rooms. And so I welcome people in the 2 separate rooms, and, you know, so I anticipate that in a new building, we would have 40 to 50, you know, as the building fully opens, we could have that many on a daily basis.
Okay. I just wanted to know that, you know, it would be a little awkward if you build a big, beautiful building and then very few people show up.
Right. So one of the things that's nice about that particular room in the floor plan is that it has a room divider that's a 2/3, 1/3 divider. And so you can pull the divider down for a smaller everyday kind of lunch, and that would be the plan, because on the other side of that room, we would be, the other side of the divider would be running exercise classes all day long. And so then we would, for those more special events, open it up for the larger 150 capacity.
The other thing that I would point out is that the current senior center does not have a commercial kitchen, so Katie is having restaurant meals brought in at significant expense per meal. With the commercial kitchen in the facility itself, it provides a far, and she can speak in detail to this, it's far more flexible in terms of what kind of meals you can prepare and obtain. So there may be some cost benefit to being able to have on-site preparation as opposed to having restaurant brought in.
Definitely.
And don't
Yeah,
we-
definitely. I agree. Having a commercial kitchen is a good idea. We're just looking at the overall budget of like a bit over 16 million. So I was thinking that, you know, how the town is going to pay for it, and I was wondering if, but I guess, you know, sometimes I wouldn't be surprised that the town's senior population will continue to grow. So then, you know, kind of building something that's, you know, much bigger than the current one is a good idea. I just, you know, wanted to kind of be a little on the sort of like on the cautious side to make sure that we don't end up like, you know, kind of getting something that's a little too big.
Well,
You may mention the fact that we're a tenant in the building.
Oh, yes, we are a tenant in the building now. We don't own,
Yeah.
we don't own.
Yeah, I saw you on your, because I read the files that you sent out. Yeah, so it's definitely a good idea if now you own the building, yeah. So that long-term cost will be lower.
and to your point about the size, Jen, we toured a number of other and spoke with a number of other senior center directors and looked at their buildings that have been built over the last 10, maybe 15 years. And almost, well, I can say universally, one of their cautions was don't make it too small. That is, a number of them that were built in the last 10 or 15 years ended up having to expand more recently because they needed a larger space or the fitness room was too small. So the caution has not been, if you build it too big, you're just going to be paying for a lot of unused space, but rather, if you build it too small, you're going to end up having to expand it at some point in the future. That was pretty much the warning.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, if we get the right size, then it's cheaper to build, you know, to start with. Then, you know, because if you try to add an addition, you probably the total cost end up being higher than if you just build a larger space to start with. Yeah, I was kind of you know, wondering how the town's going to finance that. So, but I guess we don't have to address that today.
Well, I mean, I guess the idea was that it was going to be a bond, right? Did you want to speak to that part, Brian?
Well,
Essentially, the only way to.
That's enough.
So I'm just going to step in. Jen, one thing I was going to mention, and because this is going to be an ongoing discussion, is that there is a memo. I included it in our package. I think it's available that Robert sent to the senior center site selection committee and the building committee, is how the financing will work, the bond exclusion and the various. So that's one of the things we can start looking at. Jen is reading that memo. There's also some details about the the financing at the back of the, one of the handouts that Dr. Katie gave us. So those are the things we can start looking at and drilling down in the next meeting is getting into more detail.
I have one question.
So, yes.
50 people sounds low, right? 'Cause I'm looking at the letter that the select board sent, is 8,400 residents in Ayer. And you say 25% of them are 60 plus.
Yes.
Right? That's thousands of people,
It's-
and you
yeah,
only get
over.
50.
Oh, no, so we see,
For lunch.
for lunch, yeah, on any given day. So there's a lot of, young seniors who are still working. They're not available to come to lunch. They might be available if we had a mix of lunches and dinners available for congregate meals. Some people currently don't eat at our center because since we don't have a commercial kitchen, we're not able to accommodate for the wide variety of dietary issues that exist amongst older adults. When you have a commercial kitchen, you can have a gluten-free offering, you can have one that doesn't have nightshades, which are often irritating. So you have the ability to customize and better meet the needs. But we see over 400 seniors right now of the, I think it's about 2,200 seniors in town. We're seeing well over 400 of them right now. And in addition to it sometimes being a hassle to come to our existing center because there's only 13 parking spots and 4 of them are occupied by staff or we park up in the grass. There's, if the parking doesn't keep you out, there's also this idea that because we're located in the basement of the housing authority, there is a perception about town that our facility is only for housing, affordable housing residents. And that's not true. We're open to the whole community. So everyone listening tonight, please come see us. But so I think once it's located in its own standalone facility, which is by and large the norm for a senior center, I think you'll have far more people curious and interested and engaged, and we'll be able to offer them the kind of things that they want rather than what fits in our space.
What does the cost structure now say for a meal? We talked about like having a kitchen.
Right, so
How is it financed?
So right now we have, it's a $3 suggested donation per senior that comes in, and the discrepancy between the $3 and the cost of the meal is actually in my departmental operating budget. So I anticipate the transition to a working commercial kitchen to be very smooth. I already have a 24-hour-a-week dining services employee. I might add them for a couple more hours, but that position is already in my operating budget, and there's a substantial food service budget already there, which if we were going to buy bulk food commodities rather than, one of our many restaurants, local and otherwise that provide it, we would be able to provide a whole lot more meals to a whole lot more people without even needing to make a change necessarily.
Thank you.
One other feature I'd like to mention, it will serve as a heating or a cooling center, and we have the kitchen there, and we'll have a generator, and that could be for the community. And with the way things are going now in terms of the climate, I think that that's something that we will be making use of.
Yeah, that was one quick observation that I was going to make, is that this is, since this is a town facility, is that this can be used by the town for other things, like a meeting place for if the finance committee needs to meet and can't meet here, we can meet there. I'm being silly, but so it's a resource to the town in general, as you sort of touched on there.
Absolutely.
And real other thing, Meals on Wheels, do you folks handle?
So Meals on Wheels, they're prepared, there's a lot of layers to that, but they are prepared in Waltham, and they are administrated by Mock out in Fitchburg, but then they make their way to us, and then we deliver them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would have more space to do Meals on Wheels more effectively?
We could certainly do Meals on Wheels more effectively, and then we would have the option then whether we wanted to stick with Mock or whether we wanted to prepare our own. And senior centers, they're kind of split, whether they get them in little TV dinners already sealed, or whether the seniors that are homebound get the same meals that we're eating in the senior center, and we just package them up and deliver them. So there's a couple of options for them.
Okay. Well, anything else from the committee? Anything from, any observations from the public? Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Petrosi, and this is great. It just brings us up to speed, and we'll start doing our homework and ask questions as we go along. Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone for
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us, and happy to come back anytime you'd like us to.
I need to go visit, find a couple bridge partners.
There we go.
Well, I got,
You play bridge?
I don't play bridge, although I'm open to you teaching me, but I know who you can be playing with.
Cribbage is a hot game for
Okay.
us.
All right.
Us too, yeah.
Town McCrary is a great bridge.
Okay.
She lives next door to me, and I refuse to play with her.
Is there history?
So just, we want to keep moving along. And
Would you like to drive?
No, I just want you to basically share and go to our Town of Ayer website.
Okay.
Or you can
share
and I can
first.
just tell you where to go. It's up to you.
going to the next item on the agenda, which is about reporting and clear.gov.
Do we get a halftime anywhere?
Well, I think,
Well, we're the last on the agenda, so we want
yeah, this is,
back to the 10th time. How's that?
and these are all items I think we will be revisiting.
So with ClearGov basically it is our new budget book. And it's on different sites on our webpage. We are located under my page, the accountant page, the treasurer, collector's page, the town manager's page. Under the boards and committees, it's located under the finance committee and the select board. So if you pick your finance committee under your budget book, it's going to click on that, and it's going to bring you to our page. So basically, as you see, there's different tabs for different items. You have your introduction page, your budget overview, fund summaries, funding sources, departments, and capital improvements. Every page has multiple information. There is, you have your demographic page, which is, I believe, under the introduction. That it's basically all done by the program. It's all your medium base. That's why it's always behind. It's all your state averages, your census. Right now, they are in 2022. So basically, it will tell you in town of Ayer that we're 13%, 30% for singles, senior living alone. There's just a lot of data that budget book actually it represents for the town. For your funding information, you can do it by the funding sources or by departments. Our departments basically is each individual, it's just like the old budget book, but it's not a paper version. So you have your general government, your public safety, your finance, public works, human services. If you click on the arrow below that, Andrew, anyone, it doesn't matter, this will show you the finance department. And it will just show you this category. But I think you clicked a little too fast. So if you click, it goes down. So then you can see each individual, and it goes further. So it's kind of like every department how I explain it, if it has its own organization code, it has its own department. So it basically will give you the structures of each year. It gives you your actuals all the way to 2024 and 2025. 2023 is just actuals. It doesn't show the budget anymore. It just shows what we actually expended because we haven't closed out. Once I close out the books for 2024,
the budgeted will go away and the actuals will stay there. And then we'll work on the 2025 getting the actuals. Right now, we're working out a system that I'm gonna try to get the expenses on a quarterly basis so that people will see where we're at with the budget and how much we've actually spent. But every month they are on our website. We do monthly reports and we put them on our website under the town manager department head reports, and it shows what we are up to date on expenditures. Also, the budget book is going to be part of our capital improvement that we're working on. Right now, if you look on the capital project overview, it shows our 2025, but it's in a PDF. For FY26, we actually got the platform for the capital budgeting that will have a link that will link us to the page with all of your capital projects. So this will go away, but there'll be more data, and it will identify like the funding sources. And right now we're doing the items to be borrowed, the capital stabilization, or the operating budget. You will see the different things and like the specs, and like there'll be pictures and dynamics and so forth. So it's a really useful tool, and it has a lot of data. If you want to print, there is, as you see, there is a print button. How it works is you print on it, and it will, like if you only want to say you want to only see the police department, it will ask you, what do you want to print? Do you want to print the hours, the history, the demographics, organizational chart? And then it'll give you an email, and you just have it emailed to you. So it's a really useful tool, and it is up to date. It is up to date as of, I believe I did it September, the end of August. I updated it. And so yeah. I don't know if you have any questions. Like I said, right now there's a lot of PDF information in it because we were working on moving from the paper format into the website version.
Can I just add? So what this is it's a wonderful interactive product. So you can, instead of having everything on a piece of paper, you can click on what you want to see at the moment. You can see up to date whenever she updates the expense budget. And so it's more of an interactive tool. You can drill down, you can look at spreadsheet versions. There's just a lot of options. I recommend just coming out here and just, click away and learn it, and just to see it. It's just a good way to get to know the town's budgets.
And it does have a lot of, like I said, under the introduction you have, there's information for just the town itself. It has the resident guides to the town meetings, has our organization chart, our financial policies. So it's just a good source of getting a hold of the financial system.
And you said this gets updated monthly?
No. So this gets updated. We're working on getting this for the expense portion on a quarterly basis. But every month I send a report to the town manager's office, and they put it under the website, the town manager department head reports, so you can actually see what the finances are in the omnibus budget.
Move this stupid thing.
That's a really expensive sidewalk snowblower thing, by the way.
Oh, the capital projects.
Is it like
Are you looking to get back? Okay.
I was just gonna pull up the reports.
So if you go under the town manager's website, under the,
Chief town manager, it is.
and then if you go to the department head reports. So if you look under my accounting page, see how it says August? I send them, this is updated monthly. So August reports, if you click on where it says read, it will bring you to the updated summary financial report for up to the end of August. So basically it says 2025 up top, it's period 2, which is August, because we're a fiscal year. So this tells you everything. So our moderator has a revised budget of $685.48. They have no expenses, so there's available budget of $685.48. Select board And it gives everything all the way down for the omnibus budget.
The year-to-date, it's because it says budget, but then year-to-date, does that mean
Year-to-date is
fiscal
what
year-to-date?
what we expended as of July 1st to August 31st.
Okay, so on the fiscal.
It will be, yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely on the fiscal year. And this includes, right, so this is the total, so it includes your salaries, your expenses. It includes everything for each department. And like I was saying before, as for the organization, every department has their own org codes, as it's listed on the side.
So this is online, available for
This
us,
is-
available to the public?
This is online and available now. I just brought you exactly, it's on the website. It's under, and like I said, it's under the finance committee, it's under the select board, it's under my page, it's under the treasurer and collector's page, it's under the town manager's page. It's called the budget book.
Okay, right, so, I mean, I at home as John Q. Citizen can just go in, start clicking.
Is it the second month of 2025? Is that what that's
So it's 2025, we're in fiscal year 2025, the second month is August, because we're fiscal year.
Yeah, but that's what that's saying, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically the way that our Munis software is programmed.
So I'm looking at all these people with you spent 25% of your budget and you're on month 2.
Okay, because
Yeah, well, the finance committee's not doing that good.
If you look at the Ayer Shirley region, it's a regional assessment, that's basically why. So because a lot of theirs are on a monthly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
This is neat. Now I got stuff to do since I'm retired.
Well, this has always been there.
If you don't mind me introducing, go out there and look at department heads' reports, go into that interactive budget book, and get to know it.
And the good thing is even in the budget book, if you click on the departments and you go scroll under a department, it has a little narrative about them. So just if you click on, just to the air fire department, if you look, as you can see, there's our chief. He put a little summary, and if you scroll down, it gives you the expenditure summary of like what he's expended. If you keep scrolling down, and then it has a breakdown of like what you're spending it on, capital outlay, professional services. And if you keep scrolling down, it gives you another graphic design, and then a little bit more, if you scroll down a little bit more, now, oh, you went too far. Right there where it says spreadsheet breakdown, if you click on that, it will actually give you the exact same thing as that report that I just showed you from PDF, the exact same thing. What you expended from the salary, what you expended from the overtime, your services.
So these are the numbers making up the
Exactly,
charts.
the charts, exactly.
Good.
So do you or Barbara, do you guys have to go in and type all of these individual numbers in?
Certainly seems like it.
Well, no, we actually can do an import. This, right now, since we just started implementing this probably that's why it's updated on a quarterly basis. But the regular PDF format that's under the town managers is on a monthly basis. But every department, like Barbara said, go in, play, because every department has a different outlay and they have information that's really useful.
Yeah, and we don't put the budget in until it's finalized, so
Right.
It
It does
You're
not.
only inputting the budget once
Okay.
in the year. It's just updating the expenditure.
It's just updating the expenditures. And that's why, as you've seen, there was FY '24 is budgeted, because I haven't closed out FY '24 yet.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Quick, any other questions from the public or observations?
Thank you very much. Really
Thank you
good.
very much, Carrie.
I don't know how much this costs, but I think it's,
Worth every penny.
yeah.
Well,
Very
it-
transparent, it's out there all the time.
And it saves a lot of paper too, because now it's on the webpage, so we don't have to really, I mean, people could get copies of it, but it's really useful being on your screen.
Oh, yeah, if a resident ever wanted us to print things for them, that they just contact the town manager.
And they will print it out.
Have you guys talked about what you're gonna do for, a meeting in April? Are you gonna print as many books?
I don't,
That's a Carl.
that'll be the town
I'm not
manager
sure what they're
question.
gonna do.
They said they weren't gonna do it last year and they did it anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've actually got it working and up and running, and it's been very useful.
And clear.gov is provided by the state of Massachusetts, correct?
I believe so.
Find out. Okay, or it fits in or follows the state of Massachusetts accounting rules.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh,
I
yes.
thought you said they provided the software. Yes, it follows all the uniform Massachusetts accounting system.
Okay, yeah. I just assumed, but I didn't. Thought, good question to ask. Great, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, last item on the agenda for the committee is,
There's still a public comment section. It's right here.
well, no, we have scheduled next meeting and then public
You
comments.
said last thing. I'm being pedantic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right, so, as I mentioned with the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund, let me interject. First of all, I'd like to make sure we're going to get back on the schedule of having our meetings on the first and third Thursdays of the month at 6 p.m. hybrid here in the town hall. So those, our regular meetings would be, the next two would be October 3rd and October 17th.
I mean, yes, get back on schedule. I may not be here on the 3rd. It's Rosh Hashanah, so I may not be here.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, but we
We have a full committee, so
Yeah.
thank goodness.
So, and then what I want is, in consideration of the Stormwater Utility Fund and the timing, can we schedule a meeting for, I will double check with Carly, but it seems to be open now. It would be a hybrid meeting for next Wednesday, September 25th at 6 p.m. Again, hybrid, and the purpose would be to look at the Stormwater Enterprise, Utility Enterprise Fund for the warrant, and we can vote on that. And then there are a few other minor, I've got so many papers here. Okay, and I'll share this with the group, but for the, and again, the final warrant hasn't been, items for the warrant haven't been finalized, so that'll be ready for next Thursday also, and I'll make sure that's out there. In any case, long story short, should we go ahead and schedule that then?
Wednesday, the 25th, that you're saying?
Wednesday, 25th, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. hybrid meeting. And again, I will double check with Carly tomorrow and make sure that's available. We can do that.
A solid maybe. How about that?
Okay.
Jen, are you okay with that time?
So 1 second. Oh, I cannot do that. Sorry, I was afraid I did. Yeah, I'm fine with the schedule.
Okay. Again, this will be just a special, sort of a special meeting just for this, this item. And the warrant items for the fall town meeting. Okay, so then I will check with Carly tomorrow, and I will get the, if it's okay, get the agenda published and posted to the site. Okay, public comments? Pauline? Is your hand up for a comment, Pauline?
Yes, it is. I couldn't find the mute button or unmute. Just one comment. Again, a wonderful meeting. But when you have guests, would you try to ask them to speak into the microphone? I understood everything that Dr. Trazi was explaining, but it was very difficult to hear her because the microphone was so far away from her.
We should see if we can get it.
Sorry, you're keeping you up, Kurt. I've had that feeling all day. But anyway, it's hard to hear remotely if people don't speak into the microphones. Hopefully that will be remedied with the new system they're installing, hopefully next year, but just a suggestion. Otherwise, great meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paulie.
Thanks.
So actually, we do have microphones at the table. We probably should have.
It's this one, that's the Zoom, that's the problem.
Oh, these don't, oh, this is just for the
Actually, Andrew,
recording.
it's the one that faces the
Gotcha.
end of the table, or it's not facing the end of the table where
Okay.
Katie was sitting.
All right, very
But
good.
thank you. I heard you fine, Andrew. Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, very good. With that being said,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
all those in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned as of 7:39 PM.